Hello, everybody. Welcome to Dangerous Ideas. Hope you're doing well out there. Good to be here with you, bringing you the truth so you can understand what the hell is going on in this goddamn dystopia. The Epstein files has gotten insane. It gets just on one level. I'm of two minds of this. On one level, you're like, yeah, of course, all these guys are just fucking horrific PDF file pieces of human garbage. Why is it even a story? That's on one hand, you want to do that. On the other hand, you go, well, but these people that essentially rule the world, at least if you look at power structure, are horrific PDF file pieces of human garbage. That's a major story. So I see both sides of that. There is an easy feeling of course. Elon Musk and Bill Gates and Bill Clinton and Donald Trump are the worst humans you could ever imagine. Of course. But on the other hand, we should be talking about this. We should be covering this. And here's another reason that it frustrates me on a certain level is I have been talking about this and covering Epstein since 2015. Now, I know maybe there was a handful of people that knew about it, were covering it before 2015. I knew there were. But I know I started in at least 2015 and well before he was murdered in prison. And here we are just a couple of years later. And now it's CNN News, it's Fox News, it's every channel you can turn on and hear at least some of the Epstein files. But that doesn't mean I'm going to stop. I either avoid or I give you the deeper view, the inside view, the core reality view of important stories, important topics, and what the mainstream media is not covering. This is one of these weird times where the thing that you probably and I have been talking about for fucking years is now mainstream media. And every once in a while that happens. Often it happens years after we should have done something about it, so it's like WMD in Iraq. Those of us screaming from the hills as the invasion of Iraq was beginning, there's no WMD. It's the stupidest lie you've ever heard. And then it happens, and then no, WMD, blah, 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 WMD. And then for years, and then years later, you have the New York Times and all the rest sheepishly go, there were no WMD. Turns out, tell you what, there were no WMD. So that does happen. Usually years too late. In Epstein's case, it's years too late for him. But it is not years too late to, put some of these people in prison, destroy their careers. We already have at least one or two powerful people that resigned today. Not today, but this weekend due to these files. So they are having ramifications. And of course, as I go through, I'm going to go through basically all the big revelations I could find so far. These are hundreds of thousands of documents, photos, all those things. So I'm not saying this is everything that's been revealed over the past few days. Hopefully more stuff keeps coming out. But anyway, all that being said, let's get into it. Let's do it. More on Bill Gates. So most of you know that Bill Gates keeps denying and has denied for years that he had much friendship or closeness with Epstein. And I'm going to play the classic clip of Bill Gates being asked about Epstein in just a second. But in these latest revelations, the connections are getting kind of gnarly. Bill Gates' connections with sex trafficker Jeffrey Epstein resurfaced Friday when the Justice Department released 3 million pages. Did I say hundreds of thousands? I meant millions, including emailed notes Epstein sent himself. So I don't know about you. I often send emails to myself to remind me of things. Apparently, Epstein was doing this on the topic of Bill Gates. In emails sent from Epstein's accounts to himself in 2013, he claimed that Gates had extramarital sex with Russian girls, quote unquote, and contracted a sexually transmitted disease. By the way, it should be sexually transmitted illness. All right, let's not. A lot of them you can fix up with just a few pills or salves. Okay, let's not overstate it here. But these are emails Epstein's sending to himself, but he sends them in the voice of an employee that might be revealing things about Bill Gates. So it very much seems like it is Epstein getting ready to blackmail Bill Gates, or formulating his thoughts on how to blackmail Bill Gates in order to get money, to get investments from him. One email is addressed Dear Bill and is apparently written from the point of view of a fired employee who claims they were treated unfairly by Gates and involved in a conflict with Melinda French Gates, his wife at the time. And by the way, she has divorced him because of this, because of Epstein and because of Bill Gates' affairs. In another email Epstein sent to himself on the same day, he wrote that he had been caught up in a severe marital dispute between Melinda and Bill and had been helping Bill get drugs in order to deal with the consequences of sex with Russian girls to facilitate his illicit trysts with married women. And basically in this email, Epstein is saying that Bill Gates got an STD and didn't want his wife to find out, and assumed that his wife now had said STD and wanted medication from Epstein to secretly slip into his wife's, I don't know, coffee, breakfast, whatever, protein shake, whatever the fuck it was, which just, look, you do not judge Bill Gates on this, okay? He was slipping STD meds into his wife's drinks because he gave her an STD and he didn't want her to find out about the affairs. And he was doing that out of love and respect. Okay? Do you ever think about that? It was done out of love and respect. So do not be hard on Bill Gates for this. Now, of course, if you wanted to give the benefit of the doubt to Bill Gates because he's such a caring, wonderful dude, then you would say, hey, this is Epstein trying to blackmail Bill Gates, meaning making stuff up about Bill Gates in order to achieve said blackmail. But of course, if Epstein didn't have any evidence of anything, I'm not saying necessarily STDs, but of any kind of affairs or anything, you would assume this blackmail wouldn't work at all. You'd have to have, like, Bill Gates would have to be afraid that you would have some kind of information in order to blackmail him with. Gates comes up in the Epstein file hundreds of times. In a 2021 interview. Oh yeah. So, okay. I'm going to show, most of you have probably seen this clip. I'm amazed that this clip isn't mentioned every single time Bill Gates is brought up in connection to Epstein, because this is on PBS NewsHour. I covered this when it happened several years ago. And you've got to also understand that Bill Gates donates a lot of money, or at the time, the Gates Foundation spends a lot of money on PBS and NPR or whatever. And so he had assumed they would do just a fawning interview with him, I'm sure, because he's one of their funders, at least at that time. And it did not go exactly the way he thought it would. I'm going to play this whole minute and a half.
Was reported
because the payoff is so worth it.
That time that you had a number of meetings with Jeffrey Epstein, who, when you met him 10 years ago, he was convicted of soliciting prostitution from minors. What did you know about him when you were meeting with him, as you've said yourself, in the hopes of raising money?
I had dinners with him. I regret doing that. He had relationships with people he said, would give to global health, which is a interest I have. Not nearly enough philanthropy goes in that direction. Those meetings were a mistake. They didn't result in what he purported, and I cut them off. That goes back a long time ago now. So there's nothing new on that.
It was reported that you continue to meet with him over several years.
So it goes, I had a few dinners with him. And then she goes, so you met with him over several years. That sounds like a few dinners, right?
To meet with him over several years. And that, in other words, a number of meetings. What did you do when you found out about his background?
Well,
I honestly, so right there, for those of you listening to the podcast, right there, she says you met with him over several years. Bill Gates starts to shake his head no. But you notice when he actually answers, he never says, no, I didn't. And so I actually think the almost involuntary nose shake was kind of a no to them and their producers, like, leave this alone. And then he realized, like, I'm on camera. I can't sit here shaking my head. No. I think it was kind of like a, you better back the fuck off. But anyway, it gets even worse.
And, I've said I regretted having those dinners. And there's absolutely nothing new on that.
Is there a lesson for you, for anyone else looking at this?
Well, he's dead. So, in general, you always have to be careful. And, I'm very proud of what we've done in philanthropy.
What in the hell is that? He's dead. How do you feel about the fact that you had a relationship with a convicted pedophile? Well, he's dead, so you gotta be careful. Like, is that not what's said by a hitman? Like, that's said by someone who is like, hey, your nephew's dead. You better be careful. Like, it is like above and beyond one of the worst answers I've ever heard from someone who's innocent, right? He's clearly innocent. I think everyone knows, right? There's nothing untoward here. I just want to make that very clear. There's nothing untoward going on right here between Bill Gates and Epstein. So he's innocent, and yet he gave that answer. I don't really understand. For those of you who need to see that again, we'll do it one more time. Just that last part.
And, I've said I regretted having those dinners. And there's absolutely nothing new on that.
Is there a lesson for you, for anyone else looking at this?
Well, he's dead. So, in general, you always have to be careful. And,
For those of you listening to the podcast, he also has a smirk when he says he's dead. It is like, it's fucking insane. Okay, so that's what just came out about Bill Gates in these latest files. Also, I assume with all these files coming out that Trump will be bombing another country any minute, because that's what he seems to do when these files come out and get closer and closer to him. Okay. Let's see. All right, I already covered that. Let's move on to Elon Musk. Elon Musk, for those of you who don't know, has not only denied having a relationship with Epstein essentially at all. Musk had before said he tried to get me to come to his gross island or something, but I said no. Like, basically, Musk has said he has almost no connection with Epstein. He has also, famously, when he had a falling out with Trump, he said, wait for the bombshell, Trump's in the Epstein files. And, everyone was like, wow, Elon Musk is throwing Trump under the bus. And he said it as if that means he's not, as if Elon Musk is not in the Epstein files. But now we're learning Musk was essentially begging Epstein to let him come to his island, like pleading with him that he wanted to come to the island and have the wildest parties. Tech billionaire Elon Musk appeared to want to visit disgraced financier Jeffrey Epstein. I love that they say financier as opposed to disgraced Israeli asset, CIA asset, blackmail PDF file. No, he's a financier. Jeffrey Epstein's private island, and demanded to be at the wildest party, even though the host was already a convicted sex offender. Several emails show Musk had a desire to visit Epstein's Little St. James. In November 2012, correspondence between the pair, Epstein wrote to Musk, how many people will you be for the helicopter to the island? Musk responded saying, probably just Tallulah and me. What day night will be the wildest party on your island? And so it's communications setting up. And this is not one visit. There's multiple visits where Elon Musk is saying basically, and there's, well, I guess I'll get to this. And internally, Epstein and his secretary or sister or whatever are coordinating to have Musk come to the island. So, you could argue that, like, things where Epstein is writing to Musk, it's like he's trying to bait him into something or he's doing something so that he has an email trail. But you also have internal emails with Epstein and his assistant, basically like, hey, Elon Musk is coming by. Groff is the name of the assistant, wrote Epstein an email with the subject, Elon Musk, Christmas and New Year's. She said, just a reminder, Elon Musk was asking about coming to your island on January 2nd. Groff attached another email thread earlier that month in which Epstein and Musk appeared to be emailing back and forth about timing and travel logistics for Musk's visit. Musk said he would already be in the Virgin Islands and asked Epstein if there's a good time to visit. Play it by ear, always space for you. Epstein responded, always space for you. Boy, does that sound like probably someone who's been there several times. Probably someone who has an in-depth relationship with Epstein. Also, unlike many of the other people who claim, okay, so I emailed with Epstein, but that doesn't mean I was at any of the parties, had any interest in any of the parties, anything like that. With Musk, you have him legitimately saying, what is your wildest party? I do not want to be there on a calm night. What is the craziest shit you got going on? That is what he's asking of Epstein. So I'd say Elon Musk, perhaps so far, is probably the one that is most clear in his emails that I want to come to the dirtiest party. That doesn't, there's some people that the indictments in these emails and photos is worse, such as Prince Andrew has photos of himself laying over top a young woman that very well might be underage. We'll get to that in a second. Don't worry, it's not a graphic image, but it is perverted. So yeah, this is after Musk has done all this. I have nothing to do with Epstein. And also I think, and here's the part that you definitely won't get from mainstream media is this is a cabal of ruling elite sociopaths. All right. I'm not saying they're all besties. Some of them hate each other. We've seen Musk and Trump go at each other. There are rifts in the ruling elite. Thank you, VC Nick, for supporting the show. And I do not frown upon super chats. Super chats help keep this show going. But this is a rather small, thousands of people, but thousands in a world of billions is a small group of insanely rich, insanely powerful, almost exclusively men who are sociopaths, and they have no care for victims. They have no care for law. They believe they're above the law. And in fact, they are above the law with most laws, with most legalities. They are above them. Trump, I just did an episode of Unredacted where I went through 15 times Trump has already violated international law, like some of the most serious international law there is. There are no ramifications. It is meaningless. So they view themselves as above the law. They have no care for victims. There is absolutely zero empathy. So why wouldn't they be involved in sex trafficking? Huh? Why not? It's a good time, right? It is so repulsive. But to me, I think that what gets left out of this story by a lot of other outlets when they do cover it is they go, oh, this guy's sick or that guy's sick. No, we have a system, an economic and power system, and they feed into each other, right? If you have enough money, you are insanely powerful. That is how this system works. But it's a socioeconomic system that actually rewards the sociopaths. The sociopaths get pushed to the top. And if you aren't at the top of the system, you aren't doing shit like Epstein's doing, okay? Because you don't have the money, you don't own an island, you don't know people who own an island, you don't own human beings like the women that are being sex trafficked. So you are never in that position where this is even a thing. That doesn't mean there aren't poor people that do horrible shit, but they don't do it in the scope of what these assholes are doing and have done. And we've seen it again and again that with each one of these men, they are men, let's not pretend you're just pinning it on the men. No, these are men. With each one of these men, to an individual, they say, oh, I shared some emails with Epstein. Oh, Epstein was around, but I never went to the island. I never had a party with him. Trump says I kicked him out of Mar-a-Lago. That guy was creepy. And with every single one, the more we learn, the more we see, fucking no, it's not. You knew him well. You knew him very well. You were exchanging buddy emails about when to meet up and meet up with, sometimes they're just straight up saying, bring your girls. Other times they're saying, we'd like to come to the island and see what goes on said island. Okay, so this next one is kind of funny. I guess in a dark way, a lot of these idiots are funny. But this next one is Trump's Commerce Secretary, Howard Matthew Lutnick. And Lutnick gave one of the most clear and straightforward interviews, which I'm not going to play because it's pretty boring, but interviews saying, I met Epstein once. He was Epstein's neighbor in New York City, like literally next to him. He goes, I met him once. He invited me over, and me and my wife walk in to his apartment, and there's a massage table in the middle of the room. And I say, what's a massage table doing in the middle room? And he says, I get a massage every day. And I said, oh, that's kind of weird. And then he leaned into my face and he said, the right kind of massage. And I knew right then that this guy was a creep. And me and my wife turned right around and we marched right out of there. And we never saw that fella again. Like, that is legit what he said. I met him once. I saw a massage table and I ran for the hills. I love that he doesn't even say that Epstein said anything that disgusting. He just was like, I get a massage. And he was like, bah! Ran for the hills. Well, guess what? Turns out Trump's Commerce Secretary is full of shit. Clearly had a buddy-buddy relationship with Epstein. U.S. Commerce Secretary Howard Lutnick planned to visit to Jeffrey Epstein's island with his family. Emails show years after Lutnick claimed to have cut ties with the convicted PDF file. The billionaire businessman, his wife, their 4 children, and another family planned to travel to Little St. James, according to, that's the name of the island, in 2012, according to the emails. The emails contradict Lutnick's statement that he would never be in the room, that he met him in 2005, and he would never be in the room with Epstein again. Never again. So not only now, you may go, oh, he was going to that crazy sex island with his family. Yeah, he was with kids and things. Now, does that mean he ditched the kids at the fun house, the babysitter, and went to the other weird building on the island where they're drinking baby blood out of goblets? I don't know. I don't know whether he ditched the kids and got crazy on the island, or maybe he just gave the kids a tour around the island. The point is, this guy, we know for a fact, blatantly lied in the biggest of ways. He knew Epstein well. They're emailing like they're buddies. He's saying, hey, I want to bring the family by the island. We're on a boat. We're not that far away. So, like, if he wasn't up to some shit, why lie? Why make this big thing? I met him in 2005. I saw a massage table, and I ran for the hills because I was beaten with a massage table when I was a kid. And I do not want to be near a massage table. Why tell that grand lie? Anyway, yet another one bites the dust. Oh, I just met him once. It's kind of, I just met him once and I left the room is the new I didn't inhale. It's the new, I did smoke some marijuana, but I didn't inhale because I didn't know how. Yes, I did enjoy a sex-trafficked lady a few times, but I didn't actually have sex with her because I didn't know how. That is the new version of I didn't inhale. Also revealed in this latest batch, the Me Too'd disgraced sexual predator director of Melania, the new documentary. I just love the fact that Melania decides to put out this documentary, this Eva Braun propaganda piece, and she thinks, she and her team, let me be clear, she doesn't think. So her team thinks, who do we get for this? Clearly a disgraced sexual predator. That is definitely who needs to be directing this documentary. And by the way, for those of you who have not been enjoying, and I don't normally partake in this kind of, it's pop culture bullshit, like, oh, Melania put out a vapid documentary. Who gives a shit? But I have to admit, as a comedian, it is hilarious. Like how pathetic the documentary is. The reviews are just hilariously eviscerating. It's basically walking around, and from the reviews, they basically say it's walking around and filming Melania's feet for 2 straight hours. She does not have apparently there's not a genuine human emotion in the entire thing, but it was filmed and directed by Brett Ratner, who had basically been drummed out of Hollywood for sexually harassing women. And that doesn't mean like telling a woman nice ass. It means he was accused of jacking off in front of people and things like that. Anyway, so this guy can't get a job in Hollywood, but he can film Melania because she loves sexual predators. Melania director Brett Ratner pictured cuddling a woman in the Epstein files with Epstein. For those of you listening to the podcast, it's literally him with demon eyes pressed up against a woman of an unknown age, who is pressed up against Jeffrey Epstein, who is pressed up against another woman of an unknown age. The director of the new documentary and U.S. First Lady Melania Trump has appeared embracing a young woman in images released by the Department of Justice. Yeah, for those of you that can't see the photo, he looks like an absolute demon. And apparently, to one degree or another, is. But to me, it's not shocking that this guy's in the Epstein files. It's just shocking that Melania's team, whoever made that call, was like, is Harvey Weinstein available to produce this? Is he? What about, can we get Bill Cosby to direct? Oh, Cosby doesn't direct movies. Could we get him to direct this one, even though he's not a director? No, Bill Cosby. Oh, he's retired now. Retired from movies or retired from raping? Which? Oh, all the. Okay. Let's see. Who else can we get to direct this thing? Brett Ratner. Great idea. Awesome. Love it. Then there's more on formerly Prince Andrew. Whatever, Perv Andrew, whatever his name is now, Mountain Batten or whatever. What the hell? I don't actually care about honorifics, so you could call him Prince just like you can call a singer Prince. I don't give a shit. Doesn't mean anything to me. You're not any more special because I called you Prince. It doesn't mean so. I don't care if his name was taken away or not. Thank you, 2Fs, for supporting the show. Really appreciate it. I do not frown upon super chats. They help keep this show going. But there are new photos of formerly Prince Andrew, the man formerly known as Prince. Has anyone made that joke? I'm sure everyone's made that joke. The man formerly known as Prince is photographed like, I don't know, it looks like dry humping a girl on the floor. I don't know what's happening. Either that or he murdered someone and he's got to clean up the body and they're taking photos of him as he does it. Whatever's going on, it's clearly disturbing. So yeah, he's doing great. That guy doing awesome. Just a real just loving, caring man. Here's the resignation. I told you someone has already resigned. Powerful people are already resigning over some of these revelations. Peter Mandelson resigned from the House of Lords. Member of the House of Lords in the UK resigned from the Labour Party on Sunday after appearing in the most recent batch of Epstein files. Bank statements released in the pages suggest that Epstein made $75,000 in payments to accounts connected to Lord Mandelson. The alleged payments were separated into three $25,000 sums between 2003 and 2004. So literally, he sent payments, or Epstein sent payments to him, unknown what Epstein was paying for. I'm sure it was for Lakers tickets, right? I'm sure it wasn't for anything bad. You guys, why do you have to jump to conclusions like that? Sure, he was paying him for like a signed Rafael Nadal racket or some shit, okay? Just why do you gotta act like it's gonna be bad stuff? Jeez. And also, let's also remember that we've discussed before the connections to Israeli intelligence that go through Epstein. Ghislaine Maxwell's father was very close with Israeli intelligence. He's the one who actually covered up the fact that Israel had a nuclear bomb for years because he owned the newspapers that had the ability to do that. He was buried after he disappeared out at sea. He was buried in like a basically Israeli version of royal funeral in Israel, even though he wasn't Israeli. Very close connections to Israeli intelligence. And imagine if each of these people, if it is true that this was an U.S. and Israeli intelligence blackmail operation, imagine the breadth of the number of people that can be blackmailed right now under this, or it could have been blackmailed then. These are the most powerful people in the world, and we keep learning about more of them. Like, if you're blackmailing Bill Clinton, Bill Gates, Donald Trump, Elon Musk, formerly Prince Andrew, like you're controlling a lot of the Western Empire with that level of blackmail. It would be massive. So if they can prove that and show us that, now of course stuff is still being covered up. You'll notice that almost nothing that's being released mentions the name Trump. We have seen some things that mention Trump. One of them was the photos on Epstein's nightstand that he would kiss goodnight every evening just before whacking it. And one of those photos was Donald Trump. And once the Justice Department put up that photo, they didn't realize there was a little photo of Donald Trump in it. They then removed it quickly because they're like, shit. We put up a photo of Donald Trump on Epstein's nightstand with a heart drawn around his face. They removed it, but because they'd been caught removing it, they then, I think, put it back up because at that point, you got nothing to lose. But okay, let's keep going. How about the Giants co-owner, Steve Tisch, was named in the Epstein file. New York Giants co-owner Steve Tisch with numerous women, according to scores of emails, among the more than 3 million documents released. Tisch's name appears at least 440 times among the documents released. The emails first reported, blah, 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 range from the mundane. Jeffrey says Steve Tisch might come around 7 to 7:30 tonight. Snacks for everyone. What do you think Jeffrey Epstein means when he writes snacks for everyone in an email? What do you think that means? Snacks for everyone. Do you think he's just letting his assistant know to get like little sesame sticks? Could you pick up those yummy little like sesame sticks, or maybe some like organic snap peas and hummus dip? You think that's what he was telling her? Or you think snacks for everyone means something else? Also, there were profane emails. In one email, Epstein asked, "Did you contact the great ass fake tit, fill in the blank?" Someone whose name has been redacted, meaning he is calling this person great ass and fake titted. So yeah, there's another one. Owner of the Giants. He's in there. And yeah, like you also got to wonder how many powerful people are we not even seeing a blip on the news report radar because they aren't connected to a sports team or they aren't as famous as Bill Gates. You know, they're like a secondary manager at Goldman Sachs or some shit. And because no one knows their name, no one's even doing a search through these 3 million documents for Bill Smith, who's the assistant to the manager of Jamie Dimon or something. You know, like there's a lot of powerful people that are not even being talked about because they're not famous names. Richard Branson, yet again. Richard Branson, one of the richest men in the world, you know, the Virgin Media guy. The newly released files, billionaire Richard Branson. Oh, yeah, and he and Musk have some of the most incriminating emails. Richard Branson tells Epstein in an email that he'd love to see him again, quote, as long as you bring your harem. As long as you bring your women. So there's Mr. Nice Guy, Richard Branson. And Richard Branson has tried to, much like Bill Gates, has tried to kind of brand launder who he is by supporting various causes. One of the causes that I eviscerated him 4 years ago was he was basically the one that funded and also appeared on the concert to free Venezuela. This is back, I want to say 2018, maybe. It was the Guaido era or around there. And they had a concert on the border of Venezuela with a bunch of activists saying, we should get to bomb Venezuela and steal their oil. Why don't we? Why do we not get to steal their oil? It's not fair. It's not fair. And he helped fund it, and he gave a speech during it on stage to all these people there to hear the music. Mr. Gorbachev, tear down this wall so that we can steal Venezuela's oil. That's Richard Branson. Well, also, if you believe his email to Epstein, involved in sex trafficking. I'm getting an update that the concert to free Venezuela was 2019. So, gotta love Branson. Always doing what's right, every time. Okay, this one is about Harvey Weinstein. Well, there's a lot of Weinstein stuff in there. I'm sure that one's probably the least shocking of all. Is Harvey Weinstein massage? He sexually assaulted one of the girls, or paid her or something. I don't know. It's I forget, but it's not like you need Harvey Weinstein may be the only one out of this entire list that you don't need more incriminating stuff on, because you have enough to know he is a despicable, absolutely disgusting human being. He's in prison for it. But here's one that's not getting enough talk: is financier Leon Black. And I talked about him a while back being connected to the Epstein files, but he is listed under prominent names, and under Leon Black's name, the document states allegations that Epstein told redacted person to give Leon Black a massage while Black was naked. An accuser stated another female gave Black a massage, and he then sexually assaulted or raped her. So now, who is Leon Black? Some people don't know. He is the co-founder and former CEO. He basically had to step down because of Epstein accusations a while back. But he is the co-founder and former CEO of Apollo Global Management. Now, this is one of these blobs, billion dollar blobs where you go, Apollo Global Management, I've never even heard of it. Why should I even care? Well, it's one of these blobs that owns everything else. You just don't realize they own everything else. Here's a somewhat complete list, a not even complete list, honestly, of everything that Apollo Global Management has owned or owns. Claire's, Novolex, I don't know that one, Sprouts Farmers Market, Smart and Final, which is a massive grocery store mainly on the West Coast, Shutterfly, Snapfish, Yahoo, have you heard of Yahoo? Rackspace Technology, ADT Home Security, Tech Data Corp, Gannett Media Group, which owns they own all the newspapers. They own a crazy amount of media. Cox Media Group, appropriate for what he's accused of. Caesars Entertainment, Norwegian Cruise Line, Atlas Air Worldwide, Air France, KLM, Atletico Group, Concord, Parallel Infrastructure, EcoStar Corp, and yeah, that's all for that list. But yeah, so he is the head, or was the head of that, and he stepped down. I think it's been a couple of years now, because these some Epstein revelations have come out before now. But anyway, now we have more on Leon Black. All right, so here's the last thing. And by the way, this is not exhaustive. I tried to bring together all that I could among people that are either important or you would have heard of. And I should also point out that this does not include, obviously, all the ones I've talked about before. People like Les Wexner that were, the founder of Victoria's Secret, who was very involved and many say was the mentor of Jeffrey Epstein. This doesn't include plenty of people. I did stuff on Bill Clinton before, but he's not as much talked about now. So this is not saying it's exhaustive. This is just most of the ones that came out this Friday, this weekend. And I assume, considering 3 million documents, even with AI, people are having trouble going through and seeing what all of this says. But here's one last thing on it, which is that the Justice Department, because it is a beautiful stew, just like like one of those stews that people cook like all day long, where it sits there and the flavors just all get to mix together, and like it really just takes 12 hours or 24 hours to make this stew perfect. That's what the Justice Department is now, except the ingredients are just corruption and negligence or idiocy. So it's just corruption and idiocy blended so that the flavors really mix well and really get together, and also just a touch of paprika, just like a touch of paprika. Anyway, because they are idiots as well as corrupt, the Justice Department has apparently accidentally revealed the names of countless victims. This is from one of the lawyers of some of the victims, said to ABC News, "We are getting constant calls from victims because their names, despite them never coming forward, never saying their name could be published, their names being completely unknown to the public until now, have all just been released for public consumption. It's literally thousands of mistakes," he says. They have left victims' names in here to the tune of thousands. Meanwhile, they are still blacking out some photos and some names of perpetrators, but they leave the victims' names in. It is so amazingly negligent and just pathetic. And, he makes the point in this article that all they'd have to do, let's see here, he says that we contacted the DOJ immediately, who's asked us to flag each of the documents where the victims' names appear, unredacted, and then they'll pull them down. Oh yeah, little late for that. It's an impossible job. The easy job, he says, would be for the DOJ to type in the name of each of the victims' names, which even if it's hundreds, it would not be that tough to type in hundreds of names and hit redact and have AI redact every single victim's name. It wouldn't even take them that long. You could do it with a staff. I'm sure you can do it in a few hours. And yet, nope. Let's just reveal all of these victims, just fuck up their lives, possibly even get them threatened. Who knows who's doing what in terms of threatening the victims. So yeah, awesome. Way to go, Justice Department. Gotta love it. Okay, I actually am going to get to a couple other stories before we wrap up this show, and I'm also at the end of this episode going to play for you the new episode of Unredacted tonight. If you haven't seen that yet, I'll click play on that as well. Yeah, and Ratso, thank you for supporting the show, by the way. Ratso's making a point that I also thought, which is that they did it intentionally. Are intentionally making the mistake and leaving these victims' names in there. The only reason I would think that would be useful, because especially if it's not, because some of the victims have been outspoken and are working to get the perpetrators prosecuted, etc. But in terms of the ones that have done nothing, they're not coming forward, they're not doing anything. What good is it for the Justice Department to reveal their name? Well, the one thing that you could think where they might do it intentionally is if there's such an outrage over the victims' names that they can go, see, we can't reveal these documents because it's dangerous to the victims, which is what they were trying to say before they started revealing most of the documents. They were trying to say, remember Kash Patel gave his pathetic, just Trump ball-licking interview on Joe Rogan where he said, look, first of all, there's no list of clients. He legit said that. He said there's no clients. Apparently Jeffrey Epstein was just sex trafficking to himself all this time. Who knew? He said there's no clients. He said there's nothing else to reveal. And he also said, and You know what we're not going to do? We're not going to re-victimize these victims or whatever. Re-harm these victims. Well, yeah, you could have avoided doing that by simply doing your job, and actually redacting the names would have been an easy way to not harm these victims. So they tried to use it as an excuse to not reveal the files, and now here they are revealing these victim names. Okay, couple more. Before I get to the other topics, which some of them are very important, such as the $6 billion arms sale to Israel, please, everybody, join up at reallycamp.substack.com. If you feel like you get a beer a month out of my content, like the cost of a beer a month, $8 a month, then please sign up, because I am not, I don't have these corporate sponsors. I know that some of the other like indie news you watch, or things, you watch on YouTube and stuff, you may see them. They have a lot of corporate sponsors that are willing to promote on their shows. They have a bottle of energy drink behind them. They have, for one thing, there's most products I'm not willing to promote. So that's A, for why I can't do that. But B is, most corporations want nothing to do with me. I have, as you know, been banned from many platforms simply for revealing this truth that is now, some of this Epstein stuff is now on CNN. But the thing is, if you reveal it early enough, if you reveal it when it first becomes available, then you are banned from platforms. I've been banned from TikTok, banned from YouTube, banned from Spotify, shadow banned on Facebook, etc. Now, if you're watching this YouTube, it's because I created a new channel. But anyway, so how do I keep this show going? How am I able to do this at all and put out 2 columns and Substack a week, etc., for free? It's just those of you who think this is worth supporting, who think this is something that you want to see keep going. That is it. That is all. I don't have big backers. I don't have ads. I don't have, it's just you guys, and whether you think this is worth a coffee a month or whatever. I think it's 2 coffees but 1 beer. Because most of the time when I go to buy beer, it's going to be like $7, $8 if you're getting kind of the cheaper ones even nowadays, because they're shooting up. But coffee, like now it's like the coffee on an Amtrak. You on an Amtrak train, you get a coffee, it's $3.50 for 1 fucking coffee. And it's not even a good coffee. It's like weak piss coffee. Come on. If it's gonna be $3.50, give me some real shit. I want cocaine shot into my eyeballs for $3.50 of coffee. Come on. Thank you, Kevin O'Neill. Kevin O'Neill. You put 2 words together and it starts looking like a whole other thing. Thanks so much for supporting the show. Really appreciate it. But yeah, so the best way to do that is reallycamp.substack.com or patreon.com/leecamp. Or if you want to be part of a community and actually go there, post your own stuff, chat with the other people who are part of the community, that's leecamp.net, which will take you to my locals page. So that's how to do it that way. But I hope you see fit. It means a lot. And it's the only way this show goes on. All right. So the Rafah border in Israel has opened a little bit. Israel now controls both sides of the Rafah border, by the way. It does not go straight to Egypt. It now, Israel has taken both sides of it. So if you want to go out the Rafah border, you have to go through Israel and go through Israel and go through the IDF and go through the IDF. And of course, anyone they're allowing out or in is going to be so thoroughly checked that if you ever said the word Hamas out loud, they're probably going to imprison you. So I'm sure that this does not mean everybody in Gaza can just go, hey, there's a way out. Awesome. It is basically like you just hope the IDF is not going to imprison you for simply trying to get out of there. That is all it takes. But yes, some medical evacuees from Gaza are allowed to enter Egypt now. Medical evacuees from Gaza entered Egypt on Monday as the Rafah border crossing reopened, marking a key step in the ceasefire, which is not a ceasefire, and Israel continues to kill people every day, and they're killing people with starvation, they're killing people with disease. Few people will be allowed to travel in either direction, and no goods will pass through. Yeah, we wouldn't want anybody to be able to eat food. We wouldn't want that, would we? It's still a genocide, folks. Because think about it this way. If if what's being done to Gaza today, just today, were to be done prior to October 7th, okay, cutting off all the food, cutting off all the medicine, occasionally bombing, bulldozing 53% of it, of Gaza, anybody you feel like it, just sniping them, killing hundreds, they kill dozens every week. If that were being done, just that, it would be considered genocide prior to October 7th. So it really is important that the only reason we think this sounds not so bad is because we've witnessed over 2 years of genocide. That we go, it doesn't sound like as big a deal now. That's what's going on. More on Israel is that, and this is not just amazing in terms of what we're doing with Israel. This is amazing in terms of just how meaningless Congress has become, just how meaningless our so-called democracy has become. Trump administration has bypassed Congress with an Israeli arms sale. The Trump administration has moved to push through more than $6 billion in new arms sales to Israel, bypassing long-standing congressional oversight and notifying Congress only an hour in advance of the transfer. $6 billion more of weapons to commit genocide. That's what we're sending to Israel. And they essentially did not even tell Congress, because telling them an hour before is meaningless. There's nothing Congress can do to stop it. It's over. In a statement, House Foreign Affairs Committee ranking member Gregory Meeks said the administration has repeatedly isolated Congress from its Gaza policy and criticized Secretary of State Marco Rubio for providing no documentation to justify bypassing the review process. So legit, just skipping over Congress, sending billions of dollars more weapons to commit genocide. And the reason this is significant, is not, no one's shocked they're sending more weapons for genocide to Israel, but it's significant in that, of course, everything Trump does is a precedent. If it's new, is a precedent, and it will be done more by him if he gets away with it, and it'll be done by the next president and by the next. So this is the new norm, is you don't even consult Congress. You just do whatever the fuck you want around the world. Congress is meaningless. I've been saying Congress has become increasingly meaningless for years. So really, we shouldn't spend that much time talking about them. I mean, if you're spending more than 5% of your political conversations talking about Congress, then you've already lost, because you are legit standing. It's like you're standing on the stage of the theater screaming that this actor's acting mean and that one's acting dumb. And meanwhile, the real world is burning down around you and you're just on the stage. And there's so many independent media shows, many of which, or at least some of which, I respect. I respect their analysis in many ways, but they will spend so much time talking about what this member or that member of Congress said. So much time. And that's a perfect segue to the fact that here is Drop Site News carrying what Chuck Schumer said. What a piece of shit he is. Chuck Schumer says, and by the way, I like Drop Site News. I just thought it was funny that here we are talking about what a member of Congress said. Chuck Schumer is not even up for re-election until 2029. But he said at a gathering, we delivered more security assistance to Israel under my leadership than ever before. He's still bragging about committing genocide. Schumer is. I have many jobs as leader, and one is to fight for the aid of Israel. Yeah, where are the Schumer Epstein files? When do those come out? But here's some more important corruption that continues to go on with Donald Trump. Donald Trump is definitely up the corruption game. I will say that. A lot of what he does, it's like shades of gray worse than what it was before. But in terms of enriching yourself from the presidency, now they've all been enriching themselves from the presidency. Obama went and gave a $400,000 speech to Goldman Sachs the moment he walked out of office. Like literally just walked out of office, got in a car, drove to Wall Street. They handed him bag of cash. But $400,000 is as pennies to Donald Trump. Donald Trump and his crypto scam has made him billions with the presidency. But His crypto scam is also the easiest way for corrupt individuals around the world, for a ruling elite around the world, to pay him for his decisions, to pay him to do things for them. Tahoun bin Zayed Al Nahyan, the UAE president's brother, sometimes called the spy sheikh, secretly bought a 49% stake in the Trump family's crypto venture, World Liberty Financial, for $500 million in January of last year, so a year ago. Secretly bought essentially half of all the Trump family's crypto scam was sold to one UAE psychopath. The deal signed just months before Washington approved a major USAI chip access for the UAE, made Tahoun's vehicle the firm's largest shareholder, and placed G42 executives on its board alongside President Trump. And President Trump, I said that accidentally, but I feel like more people, I feel like that'd be a common nickname, President Trump. But no, I don't hear a lot of President Trump. It's interesting. Anyway, U.S. envoy Steve Witkoff, President Trump and Steve Witkoff, their family members are on the board alongside this UAE guy. Roughly $187 million from the first tranche flowed to Trump's family entities, with additional payouts to Witkoff-linked entities and co-founders. Sorry, sometimes I just get bored and I have to go with the juvenile names. It has to happen, folks. There's times where it has to happen. But yeah, so there's some more on the truly phenomenal, I mean, really, you got to say impressive corruption of the Trump administration. Okay, I got to do this. I'm going to do this as a last story. The next live stream, I got to bring you how the Biden administrations are admitting that they were part of genocide and broke laws in order to facilitate genocide. I'm going to try to bring that on the next one. But I've been meaning to get to this. China now leads the world in 90% of all high-tech areas. 90% of all the most high-tech scientific breakthroughs, technological breakthroughs are happening in China. And that's according to unbiased studies of these things. And China is leading the way on green energy in a major way. It's tough to overstate how important China's switch to green energy is. And you'll have people that go, well, China uses more fossil fuels than any country in the world. And it's like, dude, you're still thinking in terms of nation states and nationalism. You got to think in terms of per capita if you're judging fossil fuel use. Per capita, China's nowhere near the United States on fossil fuel use. They have 1.4 billion people. We are lapping them on fossil fuel use. So it doesn't going by nation. Say, yeah, you know what has really low fossil fuel use? Bhutan, Trinidad, Tobago is very low. Yeah, they also have 8 people. Okay, sorry, Trinidad, I love you, but you got to look at number of people that are using fossil fuels. Anyway, but per capita, China's doing amazing things on green energy, and they are installing. And I'm going to clarify this in a second, but it's still incredible. They are installing wind and solar power equal to 5 large nuclear power plants every week. 5 a week. 5 nuclear power plants a week of clean energy. And I know, I'll get to the caveats in a second. I know you guys are going, solar is not clean either because you got to throw away the battery. I know. It's not clean. But the truth is, on the scale of what's going to kill us first, it's absolutely fossil fuels. It's going to kill us way before the thrown out solar panels. Anyway, another caveat you got to add is it has to do, so the 5 nuclear power plants is the capacity of this clean energy, this solar and wind per week, 5 new ones a week. However, as you know, wind and solar do not operate at full capacity, right? Capacity, because it's not always sunny and it's not always windy, etc. So they're not actually delivering 5 nuclear power plants of energy per week. However, they are delivering about 1 nuclear power plant of energy, clean energy, a week, which means that's 52 nuclear power plants a year of clean energy that China is introducing to the world. And it is unfathomable. Meanwhile, the United States, not only were we way behind that before Trump, but now Trump is ripping up any incentives to do any of this. But also China plans years in advance. They plan for what they want China and the world to look like 10 years from now. The United States plans 8 minutes in advance. Sometimes 15 if we're feeling crazy. So there is no planning for a future in the United States. We don't even rebuild bridges because we just figure we'll drive over them till we die. And let me be clear, when I say we, I was talking about the ruling elite. The ruling elite are like, hey, I'm taking helicopters anyway, so what do I care if the bridge collapses? What do I care if the Francis Scott Key All-American Star-Spangled Banner Bridge just collapses down into the water and sinks to the bottom of the deep? What do I care? I'm on a helicopter. So yes, China is leading the world in an unbelievable way in green energy. And this is not all. It also has to do with EVs, it has to do with batteries. Their EV batteries are getting more and more efficient. It really is amazing what China's doing for green energy, which if the rest of the world were to follow the lead of China, then we might actually have a chance of not killing everything with climate crisis. Quick reminder, 99.9% of all peer-reviewed scientific studies show man-made climate crisis or man-made climate change. Here's one more thing while we're on the topic of no, Inner Chia, China is not my new sponsor. I'm just happen to be bringing you the truth. And unfortunately, this is the truth, whether you like it or not. Not to mention, I don't feel the need to bring you the garbage propaganda anti-China shit that you can get on CNN, because guess what? You can get that on CNN. So there's that. Chinese fusion reactor achieves plasma density previously thought to be impossible. Now, there are debates as to like whether fusion as a nuclear fusion as a energy source will be, whether it's impossible or whether we'll get there. Everything I've read seems to show that we could get there, although mainly China could get there because everywhere else either doesn't have the funding to do it, or in the U.S., we are actively trying to make sure that we never achieve nuclear fusion, because the truth is nuclear fusion, it's like our current nuclear power, except without radioactive fallout, radioactive garbage. So nuclear fusion, if we ever achieve it, would be essentially free energy for the world. Now, I don't think we'll achieve it soon, but could we achieve it one day? I think it's quite possible. Thank you, VC Nick, for supporting the show. And yes, VC Nick says, go to China. You'll see it's all true. I have been to China. I've been to Beijing and Tibet are the places in China I've been. I always think it's good to clarify where in China I've been, because if you just say I've been to China, it's so fucking massive that it's like, well, what does that really mean? But anyway, scientists at China's experimental advanced superconducting tokamak program rang in the new year with a stunning accomplishment: empirical evidence that they used the device to achieve nuclear plasma densities once thought to be beyond human capabilities. And the U.S. is actively trying to stop all nuclear fusion. You might wonder, why would the U.S. do that? The U.S. loves energy. The U.S. invades other countries for your energy. The U.S. wants energy. And The truth is, why does the U.S. want energy? Because of the petrodollar. And if fusion comes along, the petrodollar is done. And that would mean that the U.S. dollar would no longer be the world's reserve currency. So the U.S. dollar would be essentially done, we'd have to become like a regular country that just kind of like works with other nations and shit like that. Gasp. Sounds awful. Okay. But with that, anyway, in conclusion, that's why the U.S. is trying to stop nuclear fusion. The U.S. Actually has a nuclear fusion program, but we fund it at such a low level that nothing ever gets achieved. And that's the goal, is to pretend like we want nuclear fusion, but never achieve anything. Okay, I'm going to now play for you the new episode of Unredacted tonight. It just came out Thursday. If you've already seen it, then I understand if you don't want to watch it again. But if you haven't seen it, I think you're going to love it. And I will see you. The next live stream is Wednesday for Government Secrets. That's my other show where we reveal, wait for it, government secrets in history every episode. That will be Wednesday at around 9 a.m., but you can watch it anytime. And then the next thing after that will be Unredacted tonight, Thursday, 7 p.m., and then another live stream, 3 p.m. Friday, Eastern. Those are all Eastern times. But until Wednesday, I will see you then. And here is the new episode of Unredacted tonight. I hope you'll join up at realleecamp.substack.com or leecamp.net, my locals page, and enjoy Unredacted tonight. Coming up on tonight's show, Donald Trump's war on American workers begins season 2. When we last left off, average workers were struggling to afford groceries that aren't made of Teflon scraps and pig snouts. But don't worry, the EPA is taking Teflon off the dangerous chemicals list, so you can eat all of it you want. Also, we deconstruct the debate over U.S. policing. Which debate? Whether those sexy officers look better in camo green or moody blue. Also, whether we should get rid of them all and replace them with, like, hot dog vendors. Oh, that would be so much better. All that and more coming up right now. Welcome to Unredacted tonight. I'm Lee Camp. For obvious reasons, a lot has been made of how Donald Trump is rushing us toward a end of days nuclear war dystopian hellscape. Honda Civic. It would be odd if we weren't talking a little bit about that, but a lot less has been made of Trump's impressively thorough and tenacious efforts to destroy the lives of U.S. workers. He's not just at war with every other country, he's at war with all of us. So let's go through the top 8 ways Trump has been aggressively anti-worker. I'm getting most of these from the excellent research of the Economic Policy Institute. And just to be clear, this doesn't mean Democrats aren't anti-worker. It just means they're not as good at it. Number 1, we have to start with Trump signing into law the largest direct transfer of wealth from working families to the ultra wealthy ever. The legislation is estimated to deliver $1 trillion in tax cuts for the top 1%, while cutting more than $1 trillion in social safety net programs. This is at a time when 3 Americans have the same wealth as the bottom 50% of the country. Honestly, we could end the list right there. Okay, he's cutting food stamps to fund his own golden ball washers or diamond crevice cleaners or whatever the man, that guy. Sorry, that's the most clever line I have for that. Just that guy. Number 2, Trump recently became the largest union buster in U.S. history. Did you know that? He's barely even bragged about it. He stripped collective bargaining rights from over 1 million federal workers with the simple Swipe of a pen. Number 3, putting forward a Secretary of Labor who has a long history of being anti-worker and a soul of a rabid Tasmanian devil. Lori Chavez DeReamer has been DeReamer of workers, reaming them from all angles. Right now, she's under scrutiny for corruption because apparently being an anti-worker Secretary of Labor is not a problem in our system. That's expected, par for the course. However, she's been taking personal trips on the taxpayer's dime and is accused of having an affair with a staffer and drinking in her office during the workday. Isn't this always the case? These people are absolute shit-stained parasites, but they're forced to step down for the behavior that I support. It shouldn't be illegal to get it on with your staffer. Why do you think I make my entire staff dress like French maids?
Can I take this skirt off? It's itchy.
No. And pick up the duster. Why do you think I have it? And drinking during a workday, when better? I don't need to drink during a relaxing weekend. I need to drink when I'm at work in misery.
That's why I drink.
Shut up, Gary, and pick up the duster. Number 4 on the list of Trump's anti-worker agenda, although this next one could just be listed as anti-humans, Trump terminated International Labor Affairs Bureau grants, which are used to fight child labor, forced labor, and human trafficking around the world. I mean, it is on brand for him, though. Trump made most of his money from forced labor, or rather workers who didn't know at the time that they would never get paid by him. And Trump loves human trafficking. That's how he found his part-time girlfriends at Epstein's parties. Oh, wait, that's sex trafficking. But it's still humans, right? Trump wasn't into like bestiality stuff, was he? Anyway, this is an important lesson for you kids out there. Keep track of the different brands of trafficking. Drug trafficking, Trump will bomb you from the skies, even if you're actually fishing. Sex trafficking, Trump will meet you at an airport with a bag of cash and a high five. Number 5, Trump illegally fired Gwen Wilcox on the National Labor Relations Board, which compromised the independence of the agency, making it nearly impossible for workers to get their rights or their collective bargaining enforced. So the NLRB, which was already pro-capitalist assholes, is now somehow more pro-capitalist assholes. Number 6, putting in as the director of the Office of Management and Budget, Russell Vought, who many have called the shadow president. He was the lead architect of the right-wing agenda, Project 2025, and he essentially controls the purse strings, cutting off any federal money that goes to helping people and dishing out the federal money that goes to fascist thugs. Poor children need school lunches so they don't starve to death in the middle of math class. That program. They can eat crayons or Elmer's glue or some shit. But ICE has requested a new kind of weapon that fires stinging nettles at people's eyeballs, causing permanent blindness in everyone within a 10-block radius. Let's double fund that project. And yes, not lost on me that his name is Vote. If only we had an actual democracy, maybe we could vote to have this unelected asshole's head sewn to a carpet in a queer vegan bookstore so he could learn a thing or two. Number 7, every time the Bureau of Labor Statistics puts out numbers toddler Trump doesn't like, he fires them and forces them to change the numbers. The BLS is one of the most respected statistical agencies in the world, known for its methodological rigor, independence, and transparency. Many stakeholders, including the Federal Reserve, state and local governments, and private businesses, rely on the agency's economic data releases. Trump truly does live in a fantasy world of his own creation. Numbers and math say his economy is a dumpster fire where people are struggling. Just fire the people who do the numbers and math and make up some new numbers. The scale says you're technically obese, smash that scale and pretend a painting of you with six-pack abs is a mirror. Measuring tape says you only have a 4-inch dick? Throw that bald-faced lying measuring tape in the trash and make your own measuring tape out of pipe cleaners and stickers, which says, holy shit, you have a baseball bat length. Good for you. This is the world in which Trump lives. It's a happy place with leprechauns and fairies and no unemployment or term limits. And it would be kind of funny if changing the math didn't have real implications for workers' lives. They get fewer benefits, less help. They struggle more, while Trump gets to play pretend time. Number 8, firing 17 inspector generals tasked with preventing mismanagement, corruption, fraud, and waste of taxpayers' money in federal agencies. Okay, let's take a step back before we overstate things. Were the inspector generals stopping the U.S. federal government from being a force for evil and pillaging the life force of 100 million U.S. workers every single day? No, of course not. You kidding? That was going on since day one of this country. But were they stopping a little bit of the corruption and holding back a little bit of the fraud? Sure, Trump can't have that. Trump stands for freedom. He wants to make sure fraud and corruption and mismanagement run free like wild stallions. That's why he's fired anyone who might ever so slightly hinder fraud, corruption, and mismanagement. Look, I can't go through the whole list of Trump's war on workers. Just know this. Our government is owned by a corporate state of sociopaths. It was before Trump and it will be after Trump. But Trump has ripped away the small bits of oversight that hold anyone, even slightly, accountable. He set fire to the numbers that show us how royally everyone is getting. He transferred trillions of dollars from average families to the richest people in the world. But I still love and support him because he, more than any other president, is obliterating what's left of the U.S. empire. And the world will be better off once that happens. You'll notice that all the debates over policing in the U.S. are about the kind of surface level aspects of it. Police shouldn't be able to come into your house without a warrant, or shouldn't be able to kneel on your head for 5 minutes at a time. Instead, we should limit all cranium kneeling to 3 minutes and 45 seconds. Or police shouldn't be able to tase you unless you've signed a waiver beforehand that you enjoy electricity pulsing through your body. Or they should have to wear body cams, but they can turn them off just before they beat the pulp out of a lady who looks older than time. These are the policing debates in our country. Surface level bullshit. It never gets to the heart of the matter, the juicy part. What are police? What are they and why are they? Well, they're almost entirely men who were not the brightest bulbs in middle and high school. They were never going to become engineers or doctors or hell, a goddamn manager at an Applebee's. But they still wanted to have a lot of power and authority because their dads didn't love them. And they wanted to make sure they were the ones f***ing up other people's lives instead of their lives getting f***ed up. So they went through about 17, 18 minutes of training, and they took a written exam that a chimpanzee could pass so that they could get a gun and a badge. And look, I know, sounds harsh, but let me be clear. I don't think any chimpanzee could pass that test. I think it would have to be a hardworking, focused, driven chimpanzee who wasn't in it just for the grapes he gets as a reward, but also just values hard work, you know? Did you know in a lot of states, hairdressers are required to have more training than police officers. The state is more worried about someone getting their hands on a blow dryer without the proper instruction than they are an actual gun with a license to kill. Were there a lot of accidental perms happening across the state? We got to get a grip on these unlicensed, unapproved, texturized undercuts plaguing Illinois. But let's move to why police are necessary in our society. Average Americans seem to think it's to stop violent crimes, right? Just happening everywhere. But if you look at a chart of what your average police actually do, it's almost 100% not chasing an axe murderer pederast through the labyrinthine hallways of a 14th century castle dungeon with blood dripping off his axe and his dick just flapping around. I'm sorry, that's not what they do. Here's a chart that shows what police actually do with their time. A whopping 4% of their time is spent on violent crime arrests. 4%. So here's a police debate I'm willing to have. I say we should get rid of police entirely and replace them with something else. And you say we should keep 4% of them in order to handle the axe swinging, dick flapping fellas. That is a rational debate about police. I will have that debate with you. And I will say, nah, even with the dick flapper, we can just put out a variety of trip lines, causing the axe murderer to fall on his face. And then we'll dump some really thick, like molasses mixed with toothpaste onto him so he can hardly move. And he's all sticky, he's slipping and falling and shit. His eyes are burning with minty toothpaste. And at that point, my great aunt Eunice could arrest him because he can't do shit. So let's have that debate. But the U.S. has one of the biggest police forces in the world. We have the largest prison state in the world. Our cops kill more people per day than most other countries. 1 every 3 hours, usually. I covered it a couple of weeks ago on this show. It's out of control. But look at the other things on the chart. Responding to non-criminal calls is almost 40% of their time. And what are non-criminal calls? It's like Martha down the street calling the cops because her cat, Mooper's Duke of Whiskerton, thinks he smelled a ghost. Whatever these non-criminal calls are, I can tell you one thing, don't need to be done by fucking cops. You could have a whole other police force that didn't have guns or mace or daddy issues and just showed up to try to talk to the Duke of Whiskerton or talk Grandpa out of trying to kill himself with a pastrami sandwich or warn Miss Kathy that it's not okay to urinate on someone's lawn if they didn't say hi to her when she was checking her mail. All those things can be done by unarmed, caring men and women who don't get a hard on when they beat someone's head in. People who want to argue that our policing system is perfect, they never actually want to engage the real argument. They want to pretend that those of us on the other side are saying, no laws should ever be enforced. It should just be mayhem. Like it would suddenly become fine to drive through a crosswalk and mow down 13 people, just flip on your windshield wipers and keep going. No, all important policing jobs would still get done. They just wouldn't get done by lunatics with guns. Next on the list, most police spend around 15 to 20% of their time on traffic stuff. Yet again, could be done by like an old man wearing a reflective vest. Could be done by a teenager sitting in a lawn chair with a speed gun and an email account. But no, we need ex-Marines trying to relive their glory days from Fallujah by hunting down people who didn't signal that they were changing lanes, like they're hunting down the man who killed their best buddy. I don't even see the connection between police officers and traffic issues. Because the cars were moving? Does that have something to do with movement? I've seen people walking on busy sidewalks in New York. Sometimes they'll bump into each other. There's no need to get the cops involved. Is it because it involves vehicles? Is it vehicles? Because I saw a guy on a riding lawnmower run over a chipmunk and the po-po never showed. You'll see the cops directing traffic, telling people what to do. What the does that have to do with catching murderers? And people who support our police system will go, well, they do both jobs. They catch the murderers and they enforce the traffic laws and they stop the mentally ill man from pissing in the fountain. They do all of those. Okay, I get that. But why? Why do all of those? It's like saying, librarians, they also give out the hand jobs down at the massage parlor with the happy endings. Why? Well, because if you didn't have them giving the handies out, we wouldn't have any books. What? Police also spend 10 to 15% of their time on property crimes. Someone taking something or damaging something that isn't theirs. Again, could be done by a non-cop who doesn't have a gun. And guess what? If the guy who stole the bicycle gets away because the man chasing him didn't have a gun to possibly murder him with, then good. I don't want to live in a city where people are shot for taking a bike. Because then you might get shot if someone thinks you took a bike. And I know consumerism has corrupted all of our brains and made them ooze out our ears, but human life is supposed to be worth a lot more than a bike. Even the human life of a guy who takes bikes. One would imagine he's probably made up of more than just bike stealing. He's probably a father, a brother, an uncle. He might even be a mother. So bike stealing is just one of the many interests and passions he has. Don't murder him. Should there be punishment for stealing a bike? Sure. But let's just get creative with their punishment instead of murder or prison. You stole a bike, so you're sentenced to ride on a bike for 48 straight hours, can't even get off to take a break. The pain that guy will feel in his grundle will stop him from ever getting near a bike again. Next, police spend somewhere between 10 and 20% of their time on proactive. What is proactive? Well, it's a skincare regimen for acne, so I guess police spend a lot of time dealing with their pimples. Like, who cares? Oh, or maybe it means proactive policing. Well, that makes more sense. That means policing people who have not yet committed a crime. So basically, harassing people you think might later commit a crime. I think that's just called being a dick. They spend between 10 and 20% of their time just being a dick. That's only the time they're being a dick without a crime associated. That's just their post-crime dickishness, and it's off the charts. And then down at the bottom of the chart is the itty-bitty portion of their time that is spent on violent crime. So even if you wanted to argue, we need our police because of violent crimes, fine. For the sake of argument, we'll keep our police exactly how they are, but only for the 4% of their time that is spent dealing with violent crime. Awesome. That means 96% fewer police hours on the streets being fucking dickholes with a gun, a can of mace, an ass in the front, and usually some little man syndrome. That sounds wonderful. Sign me up. And these are your headlines from the future. Coming up in April, we'll learn last remaining positivity content creator on Instagram shamed out of the biz. Dude, positivity is so 10 years ago. Loser. And 1 week from now, we'll find out ICE agent at Starbucks has his eye on 4-year-old Latino child who looks a little too comfortable. You got to be ever vigilant. Keep this country safe from that toddler. And coming up in just one day, world's elite at World Economic Forum so focused on dealing with Trump's insane demands, they almost forgot to drink baby blood from golden goblets. And if they don't, they lose their magic powers. That's the show. We have a new one almost every Thursday night. And just a reminder, as heavily suppressed independent media, We only keep this show going with your help. Join up at reallycamp.substack.com or patreon.com/leecamp and throw in the cost of one beer a month or the cost of one discount bin, low quality dildo. I can't do it without you. Thank you for your support. I also have live streams Monday, Wednesday, and Friday at youtube.com/momentofclarity. Until next Thursday, the revolution will have laughter. Keep fighting.